There's another important event taking shape elsewhere. This is the story of the lineage of the Puru. Yayati's son Puru, his lineage. Yadu came down south to where is the present town of Mathura. There, different tribes lived. These tribes, Andhakas, Bojakas and Vrishnis and Nagas, these four tribes. These are tribes which did not believe in having a monarch or a king. So Yadu came down and married into Naga tribe. Here, these clans were ruled by a council, not by a king. Yadu was cursed by his father never to be a king. So he came and married into the Naga tribe and joined the governing council. So these four clans together became known as Yadavas because Yadu became the chief of this clan. These four clans together became Yadavas, and a few generations later, Vasudeva was born. Vasudeva's sister was Preeta and Suradevi. These two sisters, Preeta was given as in adoption to his brother Kuntiboja, who did not have children. So he loved this girl so much that he gave his own name to her. Instead of calling her Preeta, he called her Kunti. Vasudeva had two wives, Devaki and Rohini. Devaki had a brother whose name was Kamsa. Kamsa was born out of a rape. Because everywhere else, the tradition and the dharma of the day was, it does not matter how a child was born. If a child was born to a mother who belongs to a certain clan, he became a legitimate part of that clan. But the Yadavas rejected Kamsa. They called him an illegitimate child. They refused to include him into the governing council, though he was a great warrior, because he was, what to say, he was too obnoxious and vulgar in his ways. But he made friendship with another great king of the east, who was Jarasandha. Because of his support, he gathered numbers around himself. For the first time in the Yadava clan, he dismissed the council and wore a crown and said, "I am a king." There was no monarchy in the Yadava clan, but Kamsa came in and claimed that I am the king and dismissed the governing council of elders. So once he was the king, he was the undisputed power, so he went about doing things in his own crude ways. People suffered much, but they couldn't do anything because he had great friends. Jarasandha was a very big force, so nobody dared to oppose Kamsa. He was cursed that he will be killed by his sister's child. When he came to know that Devaki's children, eighth child of Devaki is going to kill him, he said, "I will take care of this, don't you worry." And he imprisoned Devaki and Vasudeva. And they have to count, eighth child is going to kill. You could make mistakes. Suppose you miss the eighth one and I thought it's the seventh one or something happened, you don't want to risk your life. So first child was born and that day Kamsa walked in, a just born infant, he picked it up, holding its legs and smashed it on the floor. The mother was aghast and somehow they wanted to get away from this, but they cannot get away, they're imprisoned. The next child was born, again Kamsa comes in and smashes it up. This continued. Then the eighth child is to be born. On the other side of the river, in Gokul, the other wife, Rohini, has borne a son whose name is Balarama, who is a little elder. He is before Krishna, and Krishna used to be born. Now they are determined that they must somehow make this child survive, not just for the sake of the child, because they want this tyranny to end. So many things are said, but basically they hired certain occult people who put the soldiers who were guarding the prison to sleep. And Vasudeva took the just-born child across the river, and there Yashoda, Nanda's wife Yashoda, had delivered a girl. So he placed this just-born male child there, took away the female child, brought it back here. So when Kamsa came in the morning and saw the child is a girl, he couldn't believe it, because the eighth one is supposed to be a boy and he's supposed to be his killer. But he doesn't want to take a chance. Who knows, a girl can turn into a boy tomorrow. Why take a chance with your life? So he tried to pick it up. So Devaki pleaded, see, it's just a girl, she's not going to kill you. It is not a boy who's going to grow up and kill you, this is a girl. She will get married and go away, please spare her life. He's had nothing doing, why take a chance? So he just picked up the girl, twirled her, threw it up, but then the girl didn't fall down. She took on a different form and she said, the one who is to kill you is still around. I am not the one, you missed it. Then Kamsa became terrified, looking around, where is this child? When he could not find it, he said, any child who's born in this region, any child within 3 months of age, kill all of them. Soldiers went out, slaughtering every infant within 3 months of age. They don't want to take a chance. Somewhere he may be hidden. They went about killing every child under 3 months of age. But Krishna was thriving. Vasudeva has 2 wives, Devaki and Rohini. The only surviving child for Devaki is Krishna, and for Rohini, she has Balarama and Subhadra. Vasudeva's sisters, Sruta Devi marries Dhamagosha. The other sister, Preeta, who later is known as Kunti, marries Pandu of the Kuru clan. So here in Gokula, Krishna is growing in a cowherd family. There are many exploits. The first thing is, when Kamsa realizes that Krishna is still alive, he sends a Rakshasa woman, smearing her breasts with poison. She comes. It was natural in those days that any woman could breastfeed any child which needed to be fed, because women did not make distinction between this is my child and this is your child. Those problems came only when it came to kingdoms and other kinds of things. But when they were infants, they were not distinguished, anybody could breastfeed. If a woman offers to feed a child, it was never refused. So Putana came to breastfeed Krishna, but with poisoned teats. And Krishna realized this and he sucks life out of her. So starting from this, there are many events like this which are magical, miraculous, defeats logic, all kinds of things. but we will let him grow up without all that. Krishna grew up into a young boy, became the darling of the town. He dressed with so much care when he was just 7, 8 years of age, that he was very concerned how his clothing was. When he stepped out, he never stepped out of the house without a peacock feather. That is the best decoration you could find, and he made sure he has the best always, with the best smile, with the best attitude, with the best dress, because he believed this is one thing that every human being has to do, that to everybody around you, you have to do your best in your appearance, in your voice, in your word, in your thought, in your deed, in everything. With this he lived always. Nobody ever saw him in any other condition. When he woke up, the first thing he did was he smiled. Not cried, not smiled. Tomorrow morning you just wake up like this and see. For the sake of this one and the sake of that one, isn't this the best thing you can do? Isn't this the best thing you can do? It doesn't matter, you only see the ceiling, you don't want to see who is around you. It is all right, you can smile at the ceiling. No? A ceiling is wonderful, it's not even yet fallen upon you, it may one day. Don't make the house in which you live into your grave. Palaces have become graves because people are staring at the ceiling. That you do when you're dead, you know? There will be a ceiling close up and you stare. You can stare as much as you want. Now is the time to live. So he was an embodiment of life. It is not that he has constructed himself in some kind of morality or goodness or this or that. It's just that he's an explosion of life. Nobody could help loving him. And as he grew, he became the darling of the village and the villages around. The rumor spread, there is a boy like this. Just hearing stories about him, just everybody fell in love with him. Women, whether they were 6 or 60 and anything in between, they all fell in love with him, even if they had not seen him, because people spoke, there is a boy like this, a miraculous boy. Nobody has ever seen him off. He is always on, never off. Okay, Sadhguru, tell me. This is off. Huh? Just on, super on, fully charged and on all the time. Krishna is not valued because he's right or wrong. In fact, he's a failure. Whatever he wanted to do, his mission did not succeed. But people love him and worship him 5,000 years later because he was just on, no matter what. It doesn't matter what was happening, he was just always super on, never off. Because the purpose of life is life, and he was a living embodiment and representation of that. He was simply life, all the time life. Generally the image is that he just played, he played his flute, he danced around with young girls, he romanced. No, that he did only till he was 16 years of age. After that, he lived a deadly serious life with a great mission on his shoulders. Making kingdoms, making kings, fighting wars. That's why even in a war, he went with a smile. There are only 2 situations or 3 situations where he dropped his smile for a moment. We will come to those situations later. Otherwise, except for these 3 situations, even in the battlefield when he fought, even when he was defeated in battle, even when he had to run away from a battle, still he went laughing and smiling. So this is Krishna, many things happening around him. Not always right or wrong, but life and life and life alone. He didn't let anything else happen. He did not allow depression to happen. He did not allow anything else to happen, just life in its full charge, never low battery. Ambika and Ambalika, two young queens without a king. And now Bhishma with this vow, not getting anywhere. Satyavati with her burning ambition that her children should become kings. After much thought, she calls Vyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana, who is her son, born upon that island, born to Parashar. Parashar being the father. Vyasa became a sage and moved away. Vyasa was very dark in his skin, and he was dreadlocked, lived in the jungles, doing all kinds of austerities, gained great amount of tapasya, a very powerful being, and he promised his mother. He left her. She had last seen him when he was 6 years of age. But he told her, "Mother, whenever you want me, you just call me. When you really need me, you call me and I will be there." Many years had passed. She had never called him. In her desperation, now what to do? There's a huge empire, two young queens, no king. There is a good regent who will manage the kingdom, but no future. Somebody else will come and take your empire, that's what it means. So she called Vyasa, and Vyasa appeared. She told Vyasa, "You are my son. You should not say no to whatever I ask of you. I have never asked anything from you till date, but now what I ask, you should not say no." Vyasa bowed down and said, "Whatever you say, mother." She said, "You must father children from these two young queens. I want my blood to flow in the Kuru lineage. You are the only one left. I know you are a sage, I know you're an ascetic, but this one thing you have to do for me." Vyasa unhesitatingly said, "Yes, mother, whatever you want." So it was set up. She somehow tried to convince the young queens. They said, "No way." But she compelled them. She said, "You cannot say no." She's the queen mother. She said, "Whatever I say is an order, it's not a request." So she told Vyasa to go to Ambika first. So Vyasa went to Ambika's quarter. Ambika looked at Vyasa. He's just straight out of the jungle, dreadlocked, very dark, burnt out in the sun, and he had a flat nose and looked like a very fierce man. When she saw him, out of sheer dread, she closed her eyes and Vyasa impregnated her. But because she closed her eyes, a child was born that was blind. Once again Satyavati, frustrated because she can't make a blind man into a king. She said, "You must go back to Ambika." Ambika was not ready. She said, "Not once again." So that night when Vyasa came, she arranged for a maidservant to be in her bed. Vyasa came and slept with the maidservant and went. Out of this Vidura was born. When Satyavati realized that it was the maidservant and not the queen, she went into a rage. Now he cannot be the king because the child has to come from the queen. Then she compelled the younger queen, Ambalika, to go with Vyasa. She saw Vyasa. Out of fear, she was told not to close her eyes. She just looked at him, the way he was. Out of fear, she just paled out. And Pandu was born, an albino, pale of skin. But he became a fine young man. But in those days, an albino was kind of inauspicious, that he was strange. But still, he became a great warrior, but they couldn't make him a king because at that time, they thought an albino has a skin disease. A man who has a disease cannot become a king. So they made the blind man the king. Dhritarashtra became the king, but Pandu managed everything. He fought the battles, he made the empire much bigger, he managed everything. Dhritarashtra was a namesake king. A blind man became the king. In every way blind. Not just blind of vision, in every way he was blind to many things which he will display later. Vidura, born of the maid, grew up into a fine young man, a very intelligent and wise being, well-versed in Shastras, well-versed in the Vedas, well-versed in the political system, but not a warrior, because the art of fighting was taught only to the Kshatriya. He was not eligible to learn from Bhishma. So he learned all the other things, but he never became a warrior. Pandu became a great warrior, but he cannot become a king because he's an albino and people think he has a skin ailment. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, the princess of Gandhara. They did not tell her that her future husband is going to be blind. She was a little depreciated bride because it was written in her horoscope, whoever marries her will die within 3 months. Because of this horoscope, nobody would marry her. Because of that, they got her married to a goat and sacrificed the goat. But still, legally, it was a marriage and she was a widow. So she came to Hastinapur to marry Dhritarashtra, a blind man. When she realized that she's marrying a blind man, she took a vow, if my husband cannot see, I don't want to enjoy the world with my eyes. And strapped her eyes, she said, I will never remove this unless he can see, I will not see. So for the rest of her life, she tied a strap around her eyes and denied herself sight, which she naturally had. So two blind people. One was bad enough, isn't it? Pandu married Kunti, and he also took another wife, Madri, the princess of Madra, and Kunti, the daughter of Kunti Bhoja, or adopted daughter of Kunti Bhoja, who grew up as Pritha and later on became Kunti, who is Krishna's aunt. She married Pandu. Pandu went hunting and he was a young man with 2 young wives, with lot of conquest behind him, but no children. No children is a big problem. For a king, no children is a big problem because if he doesn't have children, so many things are questioned. Above all, The future is a big question for the kingdom. Who is going to be the king? The moment they see there is no strong prince growing up, just about everybody will become ambitious. This is the political problem. So there is a worry, no children. He was hunting and he saw deer in a state of lovemaking. Unconcerned, he thought it's a good shot and he shot. He was such a good archer that he shot both of them with a single arrow. He wanted to do that. When he did this stag, which happened to be a sage who had taken on this form, as they were dying, he said, there is a law among hunters that a pregnant animal, a love-making animal, you don't kill because future generation is in the making, you don't kill them. That is the law of the hunter. You broke that law. For having done this, let it be so. If you ever go to your wife with any kind of desire, if you touch her, you will have a violent death. But no children yet. And now he has 2 wives and he cannot go to them. Once again, the same problem, Kuru clan doesn't have a progeny. So Pandu got so frustrated with his situation. Once again, previous generation the same situation, once again the same bottleneck. Out of his frustration, he gave up all the power and authority that he had there and he chose to go and live in a forest along with his wives. He just engaged himself with the sages around and kept himself busy for trying to forget that he is a king. But the deep frustration kept growing within him. One day, when his frustration reached its peak, he told Kunti, "What shall I do? I want to kill myself. Because if one of you do not bear children, the Kuru clan is lost. Because Dhritarashtra also does not have a child. And his children need not be the kings because he is blind, he is not yet the king, he is just waiting king." At that point, when he expressed his frustration to a point where he wants to commit suicide, Kunti revealed something about herself. She said, "There is a possibility." He asked, "What?" She said, "When I was a young girl, when Durvasa, the sage, came to my father, I played the hostess. He was so pleased with me that he gave me a mantra. He said, if I use this mantra, anytime I can call for any of the gods that I wish. If I think of a god and use this mantra, he will come and be my lover and I can bear his child. So if you really wish, I will do this for you." Pandu was more than eager. He said, "Please do it. Whom shall we call?" She had already called somebody, which she did not tell. That was in the past, she did not tell. She said, "I have the mantra, I can call." So Pandu said, "Whom shall we call?" They thought, and Pandu said, "We must call Dharma. If we have a king for the Kuru clan, we must have Dharma's son." Dharma is also known as Yama, who is the lord of death and justice. So he said, "Let us call Dharma." So Kunti withdrew into the forest and called for Dharma. Dharma came and she bore a child, and this child was named as Yudhishthira, the first of Pandu's sons. A year passed by, Pandu became greedy. He said, "Let us have one more child." Kunti said, "No, we have a son, the Kuru clan has a progeny, this is more than enough." He said, no, we must have one more child. He begged and pleaded, what will they think of me? That I have only one son, after that what has happened to me? Please have one more. So whom do you want? So he said, let us call Vayu. Let our son be really strong. We have dharma, but we need strength. So let us call Vayu, the god of the winds. So she withdrew and she called for Vayu, and Vayu came. Because he was such a fierce presence, they could not stay there, so he took Kunti and went away. There's a beautiful description here in the verse of Mahabharat where Vayu takes Kunti and goes away. Initially he crosses the mountains, then the oceans. Detailed description, it's very uncanny. The oceans, and then flies away into Ksheera-sagara. Ksheera-sagara means an ocean of milk. Does it resonate something within you? A Milky Way. He flew into the ocean of milk, beyond the ocean, beyond oceans and everything. And then he took her around and he showed her how the earth, which everybody thinks is flat, is actually round. He tells her that when it is day here, where we are in Bharatvarsh, in another city opposite to this, it is night. When it is night here, it is day there. And he says, in that country, in that land, also great sages and seers and warriors exist. Directly opposite to India, if you go, if you dig a tunnel, you will end up somewhere in Mexico. So he's talking 5,000 years ago that there is another kingdom on the other side and clearly saying the earth is round. Galileo was not born. That he's clearly saying the earth is round, and on the other side of Bharatvarsh, there's another great civilization where this is the kind of people who live there, their skills and their capabilities, he's talking about it. And then she bears another child, the son of Vayu, Bhima, born as a strong man, grows up to be described as the strongest man in the world. After some time, Pandu gets greedy. He says, I know this is greed, but after seeing these two beautiful sons, how can I resist this? I want one more son, just one more. Kunti says, no, no, and time passes by, but Pandu won't leave her. Then she asks, okay, who? He says, let's get Indira, the king of all gods, nobody less than that. So she invites Indira and she bears another child by him. He is the Arjuna, the greatest archer and the greatest warrior. He is known as the Kshatriya, that means the warrior. Mahabharata refers to him as the warrior. There has never been another warrior like him and there never will be. So he is a war machine. He finds his fulfillment only in a battle. So he was born, Arjuna. The three very divine children started growing up, displaying phenomenal skill and capabilities and intelligence. All the focus was upon these three children and the mother who bore them, and of course there's another young wife who neither have any kind of husband in reality nor children, so she's just a woman hanging around. So naturally things grew in her, slowly sweetness became venom and it started spilling out. So one day, Pandu noticed that Madri is no more the sweet bride that he had. Her face looked venomous. So Pandu asked, "What is the matter? Aren't you happy?" She said, "What is there for me to be happy in this place? You and your 3 sons and your wife, that is all the world is. What is there for me to be happy?" After initial argument and fight, she said, "If you can ask Kunti to teach me the mantra, I will also bear children. Then you will pay attention to me also. I will also be important. Otherwise I'm just a hang-on right now." Then Pandu understood her plight. He went to Kunti and said, "See, Madri needs a child." Kunti said, "Why, my children are her children too?" She said, "No, no, no, that's not it. She wants children of her own." You know what that means? Her own. So can you teach the mantra? So Kunti said, "I cannot teach her the mantra, but if it is necessary, I will use the mantra. She can call for any god that she wants." So she took Madri into the forest, into a cave, and she said, "Think of the god that you want. I will use the mantra." She used the mantra. This young woman was confused, whom shall I call, whom shall I call, whom shall I call? This, many things flying around. And when she used the mantra, she thought of 2 Ashwins. Ashwins are not gods, they are like demigods. But they are generally referred to… Ashwa means a horse. It's got something to do with the horses, something to do with that clan who are experts in dealing with horses and managing horses. So she had twins of these Ashwins, and they were called Nakula and Sahadeva. So Kunti had 3 children, Yudhishthira, Bhima and Arjuna. Madri had 2 children, Nakula, Sahadeva. But then Pandu wanted more children. For a king, more sons he has, better it is, because battles will happen. When battles happen, the number of sons do not increase, they decrease. So it's best to have maximum number of sons if you want to conquer, if you want to rule the land. Kunti said, "This is it." Then Pandu pleaded, "Okay, if you are not willing, use the mantra on Madri." She said, "Nothing doing." Because whichever queen has the maximum number of sons will become the main queen. So she was not willing to give the arithmetic advantage that she had right now. She had 3, Madri had 2. She didn't want to give away that advantage. She said, "Nothing doing. We are not using the mantra anymore." So these 5 boys grew up as Pancha Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas. The sons of Pandu were referred to as Pandavas. They are king's children or royal clan, but born and grew up in the forest till they were 15 years of age. In the palace, where Dhritarashtra and his wife Gandhari are there. Dhritarashtra is blind by nature, Gandhari is blind by choice. Dhritarashtra is worried. He wants his wife to have the first child, because in a generation, the firstborn will become the king. So they are desperate to have a child. He was whispering all kinds of endearments to Gandhari, "Somehow bear a son for me." Gandhari became pregnant. Months rolled. The 9 crossed into 10, 11. Nothing came out. They became anxious, but by then they got news. Pandu's first son was born, Yudhishthira was born. They went into a depression because Yudhishthira is born, so naturally he will become the king. 11, 12 months, she still did not bear. Out of her frustration, she beat her stomach. Still nothing happened. She said, "What is this? Is this dead, alive? Is this human? Is this a beast?" She beat it, did not come. Then she asked one of her servants to bring a stick and beat her stomach. After that, she aborted. When she aborted, a dark piece of flesh came out. The moment they saw it, they were terrified because it was not like human flesh, something very evil and ominous about it. They say, when this happened, suddenly the whole city of Hastinapur was terrified because they heard sounds, they heard jackals screaming, wild animals walked the streets, bats were flying in the daytime. The signs were clear that something wrong is going to happen. The sages who observed this closed their eyes and turned away from Hastinapur. So once the sages turned away, the news came, the sages are all turning away from Hastinapur, they don't want to be here. Vidura came and told Dhritarashtra, "We are heading for big trouble, something is wrong, something wrong is going to happen." But Dhritarashtra was so anxious for a child. He said, "Leave it, what has happened, what has happened? Why is it everybody here screaming and what is all these sounds?" Because he cannot see. Then Gandhari called Vyasa. Sage Vyasa had promised Gandhari, when once he came after a very long journey, she tended to his wounded feet and took care of him so well. He said, "Whatever you wish, I will make it yours." She said, "I want 100 sons." He said, "Fine, you will have 100 sons." So she called Vyasa and she said, "What is this? You bless me with 100 sons, but I deliver a lump of flesh which doesn't even look human. It doesn't even look like it's come from my body, it is something else. Discard this in the jungle, bury it somewhere." Vyasa said, "Till now, anything that I've said has never ever gone wrong, nor is it going to go wrong now. You bring that piece of whatever." And he took it into the cellar and he asked them to bring 100 earthen pots and sesame oil and other kinds of herbs. He cut this piece into 100 pieces and put it in these pots, sealed it and kept it in the cellar. And then he noticed a small piece of it was left. He said, "Bring me one more pot." And he said, "You will have 100 sons and a daughter." And he put it, sealed it, put it in the cellar, and another year followed. Because of this, it is said Gandhari was pregnant for 2 years, 1 year in her womb, 1 year in the cellar. After a year passed, the first pot broke and out of it landed a huge boy, a baby, a huge, big baby with serpent eyes. That means even when he was born, he did not blink. His eyes were just steady, unseeing and straight. When all these ominous sounds and signs happened, what should happen in the night was happening in the day, the blind Dhritarashtra felt something was wrong. And he asked Vidura, what is wrong? Something is wrong. Is my son born? What is happening? Please tell me. Then Vidura said, yes, you have a son. And slowly all the other pots started hatching up. All sons started coming. And from that one pot, a little girl came. Vidura said, you have 100 sons and a daughter, 101. But I'm telling you, this one son, your first son, have him killed. Dhritarashtra said, what? To have my firstborn killed? How is that possible? He said, you will be doing a great service to yourself and to the Kuru clan and to the humanity. You have your firstborn killed, you will still have 100 children, 99 sons and one girl. They will be harmless without him. With him, they will be the destruction of everything that we have known as this world. When all this is happening, Gandhari picks up Duryodhana, the first son who is born, and she's ecstatic that she's feeling and touching her firstborn. She does not hear all these sounds, she does not feel all these omens. She's ecstatic that her son is born, her first son, a huge big baby. She's very eager to nurture him and make him grow. Then Vidura says, the wise have always said, an individual may be sacrificed for the good of the family, a family for the good of the village for the good of the country, and everything, even the world itself may be sacrificed for the sake of the immortal soul. Oh my brother, it is for the soul of the mankind that this monstrous child of yours has come from the depths of hell to corrupt and destroy. Kill him now. I swear his brothers will be harmless and you can enjoy them. 99 princes, but him you must not leave alive. But Dhritarashtra's flesh, attachment of the flesh, is way bigger than his wisdom. So Duryodhana grows along with the 99 other boys. Pandavas grow in the forest. And these 100 princes grow here in the palace in Hastinapur.
Sadhguru, I want to know a little bit about Gandhari. She's the queen mother and she's the mother of 101 children. So, she may not have been involved in the administrative processes of the court. So what was her role and what does it talk about the society at that time?
Being born blind is tragic, you know. But I want you to understand the mind of a person who chooses to be blind. In many ways, she is worse than Dhritarashtra because she's choosing to be blind, that's the message. Dhritarashtra is blind, but she's choosing to be blind, which is a different matter, isn't it? So, Gandhari has chosen to be blind. When Duryodhana was born, even the blind Dhritarashtra kind of on the wall, should I take Vidura's advice? But Gandhari doesn't even hear it. She will not even hear it. She did not hear it does not mean her ears were deaf. She doesn't even hear it because when you're consciously blind, you will not see whatever you don't want to see, isn't it? Have you not seen, you're living in a family, have you not seen sometimes people have selective hearing? So she is consciously blind, she's chosen to be blind. That is what this tape is stating, that she has chosen to be blind. Whether she actually walked around with a tape around her eyes or not, that's not the intention, that's not the point. The point is, she has chosen to be blind. Being a woman, sitting in the court, if not as a queen mother, as a woman, she should have stood up. She's chosen to be blind. And you will see her qualities little more later.